Hey everybody, Derek here. I'm here to bring you another video for The Walking Dead Season 5. And it's Friday, and I am basically going to do my Walking Dead predictions video for this upcoming week's episode. Since, it's Friday, we're getting closer to the episode, I want to do my predictions and basically, put some thoughts out about what I would like to see out of the episode. So again, these are just predictions. I've read a couple articles that have kind of given me some perspective, but they've mostly just been speculation, and I've also, kind of feel like the story will go that way. But I want to basically give my thoughts and give some ideas of what I hope will happen in the episode. So just in case you're not one that wants to be, spoiled in any way, you want to go in fresh. Don't watch the video because you might be spoiled. Okay. So, after last week's episode when we focused on Beth, we're now in the latter half of the fall season. We know that Walking Dead usually does blocks of 8, 8 in the fall, 8 in the spring, and we're now on the second half of the fall. Hard to believe. Um, it's definitely gone by fast, and at this point the group is separated. Whether that will prove to be a good thing or not, I'm not sure. I always have my skepticism about the group separating. I mean, because it does provide, good opportunities for certain characters to get focused. But on the other hand, it can be annoying when you only see certain characters and you don't see others. Like, I'm glad that there was only one episode just dedicated to Beth. If they would have done several, it would have been just like last season's, 2 episode Governor total screw up, in my opinion. And I think that it's nicer also that they're in bigger blocks of groups. I think that's definitely going to help as well. Seeing Abraham, Rosita, Eugene, Glenn, Maggie, and Tara together, it provides for a little more interaction, a couple more characters to see, rather than just having 2 here and 3 there and 2 here. I think that it'll be a lot more interesting. But the sneak peeks and the trailer have basically shown different things. We see that they are on the bus, and I think more towards the the beginning of the episode, we're going to see that the group is on the bus from the church. They're on their way to Washington, and somehow, some way, that bus ends up wrecking. I don't know what the heck Abraham was doing, but somehow the bus ends up crashing, and they're stranded. It looks like, and I think that that's definitely going to slow the group down. It might also give for the possibility of Rick's group, back at the church to potentially meet up with Abraham's group. I wouldn't mind if they got back together before the end of this fall season. That way they're all together, and if they're going to Washington, then that way they can book it and go. Because I think that it's definitely something that needs to happen sooner rather than later. So I'm really hoping that, even if it's not in this episode, maybe by the 6th or the 7th episode, we might see this. And this episode, actually, the title changed, and it's called Self Help now, I believe. And a couple of the scenes that I was looking at and some things that I'm really hoping that they do. One of the sneak peeks also showed Abraham beating up somebody or a zombie with a can of super beans or something. It was a can of something. And I think that it was a person. It's kind of hard to tell, in my opinion, because just the way that the person looks and the amount of blood and everything. I mean, there's just a lot going on, and you really can't tell whether it's a zombie or whether it's a person. I'm pretty sure it's a person, though. And I kind of think I have an idea of where they're going, and there's a very, very good chance that we're going to see a flashback. I really do. That was something that was expressed in the articles, and I kind of got that feeling whenever I was watching the episode. Excuse me, like the sneak peek at the time on Talking Dead. They basically showed it, and it clicked with me. I was like, oh, that's kind of like what they did with Abraham in the comics. Abraham in the comics is, I feel like they're doing a pretty decent job of, really portraying Abraham true to character like they did in the comics. I'm very impressed. I honestly am. And, one of the things that Abraham talks about is what happened to him in the past. which he has a very interesting experience in the Walking Dead world, also a very devastating one as well. And what ends up happening is Abraham had a wife and a daughter, um, and they were basically in, I think it was a supermarket, I'm pretty sure, but it was something like that. And basically, what ended up happening was Abraham, I think, went out on a run, and some of the guys who were back at the place ended up raping his wife and daughter, unfortunately. When Abraham found this out, he killed the people that did it. And I believe that he did it in just a very menacing, terrible way. I mean, it wasn't just like a gun to the head or, slitting their throats. I think this was a pretty, harsh death. I don't know if it was necessarily with a soup can, but I could definitely see them working that into the show where, basically he's killing them in a very, terrible way. And perhaps his wife and daughter, and I don't know if they necessarily saw him do it or if they saw the bodies or something like that. But basically, after seeing what Abraham did, they were so devastated and shocked that they left the supermarket. They didn't want anything to do with Abraham. Abraham went after them and ended up finding them dead. Basically, they had been eaten by walkers, and if I'm not mistaken, the daughter was a zombie. I think the wife was basically eaten so much that she couldn't come back, but the daughter came back as a walker, and he had to put her down. And you've seen a scene in the trailer, not just the trailer for next week, but the season 5 trailer, where basically Abraham drops to his knees and starts crying. And I thought that that would happen under one of 3 circumstances, which I'm going to talk about. That might be part of the flashback. That's very possible that, that's the scene that we're going to see right before we, it cuts to da 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 da. I mean, I can just see them starting off the episode with Abraham beating the guy with the can and then basically finding his wife and daughter. So I could see them doing the flashback first, and then you just see Abraham just drop to his knees and cry in the flashback because he's so upset about what had to happen. And then you get da 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 da, you get the theme song, and then you get the next scene where probably what's going to happen is that's when the group is going to be driving along in the bus, and basically Glenn and Maggie are asking questions of Eugene about the how he knows the cure and all this, and he's doing that, it's classified and blah 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 blah. Why do you have the hair? Oh, because I like it, and I love Eugene as a character. I think that it's really really great that he's there. And I really think that Josh McDermott does a great job of portraying him. And something that I was thinking about, which probably won't happen, but I think that it's pretty clear that we're going to eventually find out that Eugene is full of it. That's something that's very heavily played up in the comics. But they get to Washington first before he really confesses it. But I always wondered, how the heck did they crash that bus? I mean, I don't know if they, if Abraham tried to, plow through, because you see them going through like this big crowd of walkers, and I don't know if just, they tried to swerve or what the heck. It just doesn't make sense. But, part of me was wondering, if maybe something happens in the bus. Because one of the things I was thinking about was, well, what if it comes out earlier that Eugene doesn't know the cure? That is very possible that might come out even before we get to Washington. And perhaps, they might, because they've been known to change the story, and, the Alexandria safe zone basically could be in Georgia instead of in Washington. It honestly could. They've changed the story before. I find it unlikely, but that could be a potential possibility there as well. And that he might find that out in the episode and drop to his knees and cry, just realizing, all the bad decisions that, he's made, and that he may have gotten people killed for nothing. At least at this point, Abraham's like, we got the mission, and hey, if people have to die, it's for the greater good. We're going to get Eugene to Washington, and hey, world will be better. Sometimes people have to be sacrificed for that. so that he may be able to, justify it. And I think the mission, which is demonstrated in the comics, gave him a purpose after he lost his wife and daughter. Because after you lose your family, you really need some other reason to survive, or you just need to be a strong enough person in yourself to want to survive. And the mission was what gave Abraham, the drive to continue on. And I think that that's definitely key to his character. And if he loses that, then we're going to see him turn into a completely different character. And that could happen in this episode. I doubt it, but you never know. Something else that I was thinking about was, maybe we might see a little bit of that relationship between Rosita and Abraham in this episode, because it hasn't really been established yet in the comics that those two are together. In the TV series. And I hope that they do explore that a little bit, because I think that it's definitely a very interesting storyline, and I think that they really do a great job of showing it in the comics and the way that it evolves into what ends up happening. And I think that it's a very good storyline to explore, and I really hope that they do. Because Rosita really, even in the comics, she's not as heavily featured as a character as somebody like, Rick or Michonne or somebody else. Even Abraham, pretty much takes the center stage of those new characters that come in. And I really think that, the show has always really tried to do better things with certain characters. And I think that they have a good chance here to really do something great with Rosita. And I think that if we do explore that relationship a little bit, it gives Rosita a storyline. But one other thing that I was thinking about was, and I hope it doesn't happen, but it is possible that maybe we might lose, Rosita in the episode, or, that she might die. I doubt it. I think that you really haven't given Rosita much of a chance to, grow as a character. And one of the things that they really try to do with our main cast members is we want to care about them first before they die. Even with Bob, I mean, Bob was only around for a season and 3 episodes. That was his length of time that we got to spend with him. But they made him so likable and so great as a character that when he died, we all felt sad about it. And I really don't think that we really had the chance to get to know Rosita yet. We really haven't gotten more than a few, cool, snappy lines from her. So I think that we really need to explore her a little bit more. So I don't think that anybody's going to die in this episode. I think that if anything, any deaths are just going to wait until the finale. Because I really just don't see how they can kill a character off at this point, especially in Abraham's group. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're safe. But, all things seem to be pointing to that, they're going to go to the fire hall and basically get the fire truck. And I'm interested to see, just the interactions between, Glenn and the group and Abraham. And I think it's going to make for a great episode. And, I'm definitely very excited. And, maybe there is a chance that because of the fact that they crashed the bus, that they might, end up meeting back up with Rick's group. Or, maybe they realize as they go along that it wasn't the best choice for them to separate. That's something that might end up being clear as we're going along and we see that we have all these walkers and there's all these threats and they crash the darn bus. They might realize that, we really should not have left without Rick and the rest of the people. And Abraham might realize that. Abraham might realize that, it was a mistake. And we might see that from Glenn and Maggie. They went along. But they could easily, change their mind and be like, yo, man, we really screwed up. We shouldn't have left. And if they come to that realization, then maybe we might have them turn around and go back to the church. I think that's very possible, that they might, by the end of the episode, realize that they bit off more than they can chew, and just 6 people separating from the rest of the group and going on their own is not the best option. And they need everybody in order to really make sure that they make it to Washington. So I think that there's a very good chance that they might even end up getting in the fire truck or finding another vehicle and going back to the church and meeting up with Rick's group in the later episodes. And that's when we get hey, we Daryl's back. we know where Beth's at, we know what's going on, let's do this mission, let's get them, and then we'll go. And I think that might end up being what happens. So I'm really hoping that, it's a good episode. I think they've done a pretty good job so far this season. Episode 4 was a little bit of a letdown, but I mean, that's just, when you have 3 great episodes back to back to back that are just, tense and shocking and on the edge of your seat, you kind of hate to turn the gear back a little bit, but it was still a great episode, and I really think they did a great job of showing Beth just how much she's grown. And I really hope that, these next 4 episodes prove to be, just as great. I think they've really done a great job with season 5, and I'm very excited for Sunday. But let me know what you guys think. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them. Is there something else you think is going to happen? Or do you agree with one of my theories? Or is there something that I missed? Let me know. Don't be afraid to subscribe. I have more videos coming. And if you have any video topics that you would like to suggest, don't be afraid to do so. I have more ideas coming out. And if you guys have any other ideas, don't be afraid to share them. Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.